I want to say that this video is not sponsored by Aprilia South Africa, even though I ride an Aprilia and you're going to see a lot of Aprilia content, okay? It just happens to be the bike that I ride presently. Fantastic bike, the Tuono, but not sponsored by Aprilia. And what this video is about is a topic that I've been asked about, I don't want to say a lot of time, then make it sound like I'm some motorbiking personality. I'm not. But I have had quite a few friends of late who have reached out to me in relation to advice on the first bikes for them to buy. And I thought I would give you some advice based on my own personal experiences. Now, just for some background, I've only been riding for about 6 years, okay? 5 maybe. And the first time I rode a bike, I was 18. I'm 42 now. So I don't have a lot of experience in terms of years, but in terms of kilometers, I have managed to put on about 100,000 kilometers in that time frame. So I think the best place to start when buying a bike would be to determine what type of rider you're going to be. There are many different types of bikes. You know, you hear about super sports bikes for the track, super naked bikes, adventure bikes, cruisers, cafe races. And one of the biggest mistakes you could make as a newbie looking to get into bike riding is choosing the wrong bike. Yeah, depending on what groups you're on and what videos you follow, people often say, oh, there are no wrong bikes as long as you're riding. And I think that's absolute drivel. There can absolutely be the wrong bike, okay? Take, for example, in the South African market, the super naked bike isn't necessarily the most popular. I would say, and I mean, this is not a particular statistic, but I would argue based on my experience and the bike that I see on the road that there's a 2-to-1 ratio in relation of people who buy super bikes and super nakeds. Now, if you're somebody who's new to biking, you might not even know what the differences are. But a super bike or a super sports bike is the type of bikes that you might see on the racetrack. The Valentino Rossi's are riding them in 600 cubic centimeters in 1000 cc's, or liter bikes as they call them in the US. And super naked bikes have similar size engines, but the ergonomics of the bike are very different. So they have no fairings. It would be the easiest way to identify them. Less fairings and slightly more upright. If you're somebody who's going to be a more track-orientated rider and you're anticipating that you're going to be putting your bike on a trailer, going to the racetrack, and you're going to have track days once a month or so, then absolutely it would make sense to buy a super sports bike, which will do 300 k's an hour. It's an absolute weapon. It's geared and its lines are geared to make you as sleek with the machine as possible. You're stretched over the tank, and that is what you're going to look like sideways on the bike. Then perfect. You don't have to worry about what your back is going to feel like in that position every day, because you're not going to be in that position every day. It's more of an occasional tool, okay? If you're somebody who's going to be doing more commuting, you may not want to be in that position every day, because I'll insert a little clip at this point in the video so you can see how your body is draped over the bike in comparison from when comparing a super naked bike to a super sports bike. Yes, both bikes will do upward of 270 k's an hour. But the question is, what are you going to feel like after you get off that bike? I used to own a 20th anniversary CBR 1000 RR Fireblade. Great bike to look at. But the biggest mistake I made was I fell in love with the picture. I knew nothing about biking. I saw this picture and I was like, man, this thing is just porn. You know, I want it. I like the lines. I want to go fast. 300 k's an hour. And I bought the bike. Okay, some of my friends were totally for the purchase, and other people who had a bit more experience in riding, at War Dogs Customs, for example, I'll put his little hashtag here on Instagram so you can follow him, said to me, you might be more comfortable on a super naked bike. Now, I looked at a super naked bike with my noob eyes, and it looked like, the best way to describe it is I felt like it was kind of a pretty looking delivery bike. I'd be too upright, it wouldn't work. Didn't even bother to ride any super naked bikes. I wanted the Fireblade. That's all I wanted. So I bought it. Initially, I learned to ride on a 1000cc motorbike. Okay, that is potentially another video, what to buy when you're riding. But anyways, that's a different conversation. I didn't see too many problems with it. Initially, the excitement is great, but depending on the amount of time that you spend in the saddle, the wrong ergonomics on the bike are going to affect your body differently. Now, I'm not the tallest guy in the world. I'm about 1.75 meters tall. What's that? 5'8". Okay. I weigh about 90 kilograms. I could get half my foot on the ground on that bike. But the issue with the super sports bike is it's designed for the racetrack. Okay. Your arms are way forward. You're way over the tank. So if you're that far over the tank, your lower back is taking quite a bit of beating when you're braking. Your wrists are supporting most of your weight because you're not in a position where you can support yourself upright. Your feet are more upward and towards the rear of the bike because you're meant to be nice and tucked when going fast on the racetrack. A super sports bike is meant to go fast, it's not meant to be comfortable. I rode that bike a few times and immediately, riding from Joburg to Hartbeespoort Dam on these breakfast runs, you can spot the people that have been in the saddle for a long time. They get off the bike. They look like old people stepping away from Zimmer frames. They need to straighten their spines and uncork their shoulders. And they walk like cowboys who have just caught cattle or wrestled, livestock on the farm. It takes them about 20 steps to straighten up from the ride, and then they get to breakfast. Now, I rode that bike for about 2 years. Eventually, I had enough of it and I went on Super Naked. A lot more comfortable. You can literally do 500, 600 Ks on that bike. Get off, do whatever you need to do as opposed to feeling like you need a nap. So point number one, consider what type of riding you're going to do. If you're going to be a track-oriented rider, by all means, get a Super Sports. If you're going to be more of a commuter, you might be more comfortable in the Super Naked. If your bag is more off-road, potentially get an off-road bike, or if you're going to be doing a blend of all three, nothing stops you from getting an adventure bike. Also consider if you're going to be taking your significant other with you on these rides. Comfort levels are great on an adventure bike with a box to carry somebody. Decent on a Super Naked bike, not so good on a Super Sports, and in certain scenarios even absent. Okay. Point number one, what kind of rider are you going to be? Don't fall in love with the picture. Rest your crotch on a few different models and let the bike tell you what kind of rider or what kind of feel you need. Test the bike against your own body dimensions. Point number one.